Hare Krishna. I am Rohini Kishore Das. We'll start with small prayers. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाशाद्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So the topic of today's discussion is right utility of human form of life. I'm just sharing my screen. Mm, Just a Hare Krishna. The topic of today's discussion is right utility of human form of life. This topic has been taken from the Canto 5th and 6th. So we'll start with the topic. As we know that as a fifth canto starts, there's a fifth chapter in which Lord Rishabdev gives his teachings to his uh, sons, in which the first verse he describes that why this human form of life is important. In Hitopadesh also and in Mahabharata, there's a verse uh, which says Ahara Nidra Bhai Maithunam cha Samanya Etat Pashubhi Naranam Dharmo Hitesho Adhiko Vishesho Dharmena Vihina Pashubhi Samana. If after getting the human form of life, we are still engaged in Ahara Nidra Bhai Maithun, these four things, eating, meeting, sleeping, and defending, then we are like animals. We are not better than animals. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also describes in one of his bhajans, Durlabha Manava Janma, Durlabha Manava Janma, Labhiya Sansare, Krishna na bhajino dukha, kahibo kahare. And in that bhajan, he also describes Gardhabhera Mata Ami Kori Parishrama Kalagi to Kori Naghuchi Lobhrama Durlabhamana Janma. So the human form of life is very rare. And if after getting this human form of life, we are engaged in these four things: eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and working like hogs and dogs, as he's saying, Gardabera Mattami, Kori Parishrama, then we are just wasting the human form of life. So um, Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanvan Prapadyate Vasudev Sarvaviti Samahatma Sudurlabha. Manushyanam Sahastreshu Kashideti Siddhe. Even after getting the human form of life, very rare humans they develop knowledge to how to get out of this material world. Sansriti Ghoram. As a human form, after getting the human form, it is a responsibility. Yeah, it's a very responsible form of life out of all the 84 lakhs of species. Like the example or analogy has been given in a high court, there's a judge and there's a sweeper. Sweeper also goes daily over there and mops the floor. But his salary is very less, 10,000, 15,000. But the judge also goes there for a very less of time. The sweeper is always there 24 into 7. But the judge goes only for 1 or 2 hours, gives some judgment, but the salary is very high. Why it is so? Because the judge has a responsible position. Similarly, the human form of life has a very responsible position. We should inquire. We should inquire. This is a quest of soul. The quest should be there within in human mind. As the Sanatan Goswami, when he first met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he says, "Ke ami, ke ne amai, jare tapit roy." Who am I? Why am I suffering in this material world? Because of the three tapa, adi bhautik, adi devik, adi atmik. Hmm? So the Vedanta Sutra also brings with the jigyasa quest. Athatho Brahma jigyasa. Who am I? Who is God? What is my relationship with God? These three questions is been, if we are not getting answered in this human form of life, who am I? Who is God? And what is my relationship with God? How to get out of this material world? If we are not getting the answers of these questions in our human form of life, then it is just a waste. So he starts with Rishabdev starts with his teachings that this human body, living entity should not be given a human body. In living entity should not be given a body, any material body out of all the 84 legs. But because of sense gratification, he's been given this body, any body out of the 84 life species. Uh, and if we get by chance a human body, which is very rare chance, the knowledge has been given, like a tortoise is swimming in the ocean, and there's a log of wood in which there's a hole. So what is the chance in a big vast ocean that the tortoise will come out of that log of wood? Very rare. So similarly, the human form of life is very rare to get in this material world. Uh, So what should we do? Uh, in which he says, "Nayam deho deh bhaja nriloke." Hmm? That these material bodies should are being accepted, who have been awarded this human form of life. He should not work like hogs and dogs just for the sense gratification, which is available in the lower species also. What should we do? Engage in austerities. He'll say in the further verses, Tapo Divyam Putraka Yena Sattvam. We should do tapasya. The human form of life is being given for tapasya. As Krishna also says in 5.29 Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. That I enjoy in doing, if you do these two things, that will please me. Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. You do Yagya, you do Tapaha Tapasya. So the human form of life is given for tapasya. How we can do that? By purifying one's heart. The heart is very impure, as further it says that what should we do, the because of that impure mind, uh, we are not being able to engage in spiritual activities. So we should start with service to advance spiritual personalities. We should never associate with the people who are fond of women and sex, because this will lead us to path of hell. As you can see in the photograph, the people who are being engaged in women and sex, then they are going to path of hell. But if we do the sangha, the association of advanced spiritual personalities, that will lead our doors to the Vaikuntha. In 5.5.4, Nunam Pramatta Kurute Vikirma, Yad Indriya Priti Apranoti, Nasa Adhumanye Yata Atmanoyam, Asanapi Kleshada Asadeha. This human form of life, or this body, material body, gives you Kleshada Asadeha, only to give you pain. This been given to you only to give you pain, but we want to do sense gratification out of it. Hmm? We want to do something else with this human form, but Nunam Prapanta is totally mad because of the mind which is like an uncontrolled elephant. As Arjuna also says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramathi balvadradam, is very strong, obstinate. It's very difficult to control. Because of this, Nunam Pramatta is totally mad. Kurute Vikarma. It is doing Vikarma, which is being forbidden in Bhagavad Gita. All the karmas which has been forbidden, it is engaged. Yadindriya Priti Apranoti, for just for the sake of sense gratification. So the mind which is impure is called karmatmaka mind, impure mind. which is giving us again and again this material body. As there's a verse in 11th canto, 11th canto, there's a verse that what is responsible for all our uh, material conceptions or material bodies we are getting, this samsara chakra, what is the main responsible thing? Hmm? Uh, नामे जनों में दुख सुख हेतु ना देव आत्मा ग्रह कर्म काला मना परम कारणमामनन्ति संसार चक्र परिवर्त एतत् is only the mind, it's not the people, it's not the our stars, it's not the time. नामे जनों में सुख दुख हेतु ना देव आत्मा, not the demigods, no one is responsible for all our miseries in this material world. It's only and only the mind. Mana param karanamamananti. And he becomes mad after sense gratification, which is just a useless waste of time. Can see all the senses are uh, pulling the human living entity here and there, and that is how he is just wasting human form of life. That is why Prahlad Maharaj says in seventh canto, what we should do, Kaumaracharet Pragyo, Dharman Bhagvataniha, Durlabham Manusham Janma, Tat Api Dhruvam Adhruvam Arthadam. We should start devotional service from the very beginning, Kaumaracharet, from the age of 5 years. Dharman Bhagvataniha, Durlabham Manusham Janma. Manush Janma is very durlabh. Manushya means manha ishaha. Who is isha of the mana? Who is the controller of the mind? That is what the manushya is. If we are not able to control our mind somehow, by engaging our senses in Krishna conscious activity, then it's just a way. Then we are not manushya. We are just like animals. We are dharmen vihina pashubhi samana. Uh, uh, and tad api adhruvam arthadam. It is adhruvam. Sooner or later, this body is going to finish, vanish. Hmm? इदं शरीरं परिणामपेशलं पतति अवश्यं शतसन्धि जर्जरम् किमौषधिं पृच्छसि मूढदुर्मते निरामयं कृष्ण रसायनं पिबा. Raja Kulshikhar, King Kulshikhar says in Mukundamala Stotra that body is going to slain one or the other day. Uh, the only Aushadhi, Krishna Rasayanam Piba, it is only the Krishna Katha and the association of devotees and the chanting of the holy name which can save us. Hmm? And in this same chapter, the eighth verse says, Punsa istriya mathuni bhavametam. Why the mind is polluted? It is only because of the relationship of the this whole material world is also called mathun agar. So the sense gratification which is pulling the mind so much is the attraction of the opposite sex between the man and woman. Tyor mitho hridaya granthim ahur, which causes false knots in the heart, which is binding unto this material world. Ato graha kshetra sutapta vitte. Then we do the expansion. As a man comes in contact with a woman, woman is called istri. In Hindi, it's called istri. Istri means vistar, the expansion. As the istri comes or the woman comes, you have to get a house, you have to get a car, you have to get a good money, good job, you have to get children. So, graha kshetra sutapta vitte. All these things are required. Janasya moham aham mameti. Then what happens? Me and mine. The human form we waste in just these two things. Me and mine. It's mine, mine. Janasya moham. You become totally illusioned by these things. Then, in further, it says that in 10 and 13 verse of this same chapter, that we should philosophically inquire about the truth, as I said about the Sanatan Goswami, athatho brahm jigyasa, undergo all kind of stress and penance for the sake of devotional service. Listen to discussion about the Supreme Personality recorded, always associate with devotees, chant about and glorify the Supreme Lord. So the four S, I have just summarized this whole 10 to 13 verses in four S: Shastra, Sadhana, Sangha, Seva. These four S are Shastra. We should listen to Shastras. Why? Because they are aparushya. They are not been written by any human being. They are aparushya, spoken by Krishna. Hmm? Shastras, and they are Shabda Brahma. We should listen. As more we listen from the ears, Yeah, these all Shabda Brahma will enter our heart and will cleanse the heart. Huh? पिबन्ति ये भागवत आत्मना सतां कथामृतं श्रवणपुटेषु संभृतां पुनन्ति ते विषयवदूषिताशयम् Vrajanti Charan Saroruhantikam. Second canto, second chapter, last verse. It says that Pivanti, we have to read or listen to the Shastras. We have to drink the nectar of the Shastras through our ears. Te Bhagavata Atmana Satam Kathamritam Shravan Puteshu Samrita. How to drink it? Shravan Puteshu with the bowels of these ears, full of this nectar. We should more and more. We should listen and fill our ear that it should overflow from the bowl of your ears. But what we do, we take prasadam in big, big bowls and take that to home, filling all sweet rice or a rasgulla or cake. We take all full bowls at home, but with the katha bowls, we listen and we just throw it over there in the temple as we cross the boundary of the temple or the class. So we should punanti vishe vidushitashram. Why? Because our heart has been so illusion has been so polluted that the goal of our life is totally polluted. Punanti te vishay vidushitashayam. Then if we hear more and more, then our path of life or the goal of life will get clear, it'll get unpolluted. It'll get pure. Then Vrajanti Tacharana Saroruhantikam. Then we our way to Vrajanti. Vraja means the Golok Dham. It is all clear. Sadhana. hmm, we should develop some strict sadhana, chanting prescribed number of rounds, doing in the Brahmurta, trying to get initiation from a bona fide spiritual master. Sangha. uh, साधु संग सर्व शास्त्र कहे लव मात्र साधु संग सर्व सिद्धि in the association of devotees, otherwise not possible in Kali Yuga. Seva, then after listening to shastra, doing some sadhana, and in the association devotee, we should engage all our senses in seva. सर्वोपाधि विनिर्मुक्तम तत्परत्वेन निर्मलम ऋषिकेन ऋषिकेश सेवनम भक्ति रुचते. We have to engage all the senses in the service of the possessor of the senses, Rishikesha. uh, Sevanam bhakti ruchyate. We have to do seva. That is the Uttama Bhakti definition given by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then Srimad Bhagavatam, same canto, same chapter, and verses 15 verse, which says that what we should do in the human form of life, two things. Mat loko kamo. Every human being should have only one desire to go back to spiritual world. Mat loko. That is why Prabhupada has given it the name of his magazine as Back to Godhead. Hmm? Mad anugraha artha. And always think that only thing which is valuable in this human form we can get is mad anugraha, the mercy, the causeless mercy of the Lord. Nipatyan nashta drisham hi garta. Otherwise, his the people in this world all are blind, as Prahlad Maharaj also says. I've posted a picture of Dhritarashtra. He was materially blind, also he was spiritually blind. So we are also like we are also blind with eyes. आँख वाले अंधे. We are also as say most of the time, Sunday हो या Monday, हम रोज रहेंगे अंधे. And we don't want to give a spiritual vision to our eyes. We always every day we want to close the eyes to to the shastras, to the spirituality. And what will happen if we follow such people who are totally blind towards the what shastra is saying? If we follow them, we'll also fall in a ditch, as Prahlad Maharaj also says that नामे विदुः नामे विदु स्वार्थगतिम hi Vishnu. People do not know their swarth is Vishnu. Durashaya bahit arthamaniya. Then they have taken the shelter of people, durashraya, which is not a good shelter. Durashraya ye bahirarthamanina. Andha yathandhe rupagiyamana. And all blind people are following the blind people. Te bishatantram urudam nibadha. That is why they are again and again being bound by the three modes of material nature and coming back to this material world. Verse 18, which says, if you get a human form of life, Guru na sasyat, Swajano na sasyat, if you have got the human form of life, and you cannot deliver his your dependence from the repeated birth and death, then you should not become a spiritual master. Guru na sasya, Pita na sasya, you should not become a father, you should not become a Janani mother, or a worshipable demigod. You are not, human form is responsible, but if you are not doing all this, then you should not take all these responsibilities. What will happen now? There's a given an example, like if a pilot has been given a license to fly a plane, and he's just doing the taxiing. Now, taxi means that when before the takeoff, the flight, for some period, it moves onto the floor only. It moves onto the runway. Then for 2 hours, if the pilot is doing this taxi thing only and he's not taking off, then what will the authorities will do? They'll take over the license of the pilot. They will say, you take the license for driver, a car driver. You drive four-wheelers at on the ground only. You will not be able to fly. So give back your license. Similarly, the human form of life has been given the license to to take a flight from this material world. But if we still interested in only material activities in this material world, we are so much attached. hmm, ওরে মান খুব ভালো লাগে রে সংসারা. It should be the opposite one. ওরে মান ভালো নাহি লাগে রে সংসারা. If we are so much attached to the material world, then what Krishna will do, he'll take over the license of human form. He'll say, you go back to the rest of the 84 lakh species. So in 24th verse, what we should do, the mind should be controlled, senses should be controlled, and should tapasya and tolerance. The analogy of a chariot we know has been given in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada explains in one of his purpose very beautifully. Five senses are there, which are like the horses. The reins are there, which is like the mind. Where the charioteer is there, which is like a intelligence, and the person who's sitting at the back of the chariot is the sufferer, is the soul, the living entity. And if the all the five senses are not in control, all the four five horses are going haywire, they're going different directions. The mind, the reins are not, they are loose. Mind is uncontrolled, and also the intelligence, which is above mind, is not able to control the mind. So the all the senses are going to do the chaos in our life. That is why everyone having a chaotic life. Manda sumanda mateo manda bhagya upadritaha in this Kali Yuga. So we should develop the spiritual knowledge. The knowledge, the buddhi should be strong. How? By reading shastras. Then it'll dictate the mind, and then the mind will be able to control the five horses. Then we just directly jump to the 11th chapter of fifth canto, in which the Jadabharat is instructing King Rahugana. As because of the paucity of the time, I'm not able to discuss the story. Uh, but Rahugana was mistreating Jadabharat for not taking the palanquin properly. And then he says, I am the king, I'll punish you. Then Jadabharat, who is a exalted personality, a devotee of the Lord, he starts speaking. And the fourth verse is saying, as long as the mind of the living entity is contaminated by the three modes of nature, his mind is exactly like the uncontrolled elephant. Hmm? That is why Krishna says, and Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nestrigunya Bhavarjuna. Just get away, raise yourself from the three modes of material nature. In the seventh verse, he says, Gunastasya Paravarasya. The mind makes the living entity within this principle who wander through the different species of life. As we have discussed, Mana Param Karanam Amananti Sansara Chakra Parivarte. He's instructed Rahuguna that you are not a king, just you are just a body which is going to slain soon. So you should develop spiritual knowledge. And then he says that he's giving an analogy that if a flame in a lamp burns the wick improperly, then the lamp is blackened. But when the lamp is filled with gas burning properly, there's a bright illumination. So, similarly, when the mind is absorbed in sense gratification, it causes suffering, as the improperly burned wick is causing the lamp to be blackened. And when it is detached from real sense gratification and is engaged in service to the Supreme Lord, then there's a bright illumination of original brightness of Krishna consciousness. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hai Andhakar. Hmm? जहाँ नहीं माया कृष्ण सूर्य सम माया अंधकार, जहाँ नहीं कृष्ण वहाँ माया अधिकार, वेयर देर इज नो कृष्ण देन द माया विल टेक अस एंड illusion will be illusioned by the माया। कृष्ण भूलिया जीव भोगवांछा करे, निकटस्थ माया तारे झपटिया धरे। Maya is very ready to just catch us from the back, and very strongly it catches. And this one Krishna भूलिया अनादि जीव अनादिर बहिर्मुख था। इते माया तारे जीवे संसार दिव्य संसार दुख, because the living entity has forgotten Krishna for since millions of lifetimes, that is the Maya is giving suffering in this material world again and again. There are there's a two powers of Maya, है ना, प्रक्षेपात्मिका शक्ति and आवरणात्मिका शक्ति। आवरणात्मिका means it covers the intelligence of the living entity, Avaran, and then Prakshepatmika. He forgets about the reality of the human, the reality of the material world, and he goes into the Asatya Satya Korimani. He thinks which is Satya, that's Asatya, and Asatya is Satya. In the 15th verse says the soul accepts the material body. As long as the soul is he does not conquer the six enemies. Six enemies, Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moh, Mad, Matsar. He'll start wandering in different species of life. As Krishna also says, Purusha Prakritis hi bhungte Prakriti jan gunan, Karanam guna sangasya sad asad yoni janmasu. Again and again, you will be thrown in this world, material whirlpool. Then in the 17th verse is saying that the mind, uncontrolled mind, it covers the constitutional position of the soul. That is why we are not able to utilize this human form of life properly. So, what should do? Conquer the mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master, Guru Pada Ashray. The first thing Rupa Goswami discusses about the 64 angas of devotional service. The first is Guru Pada Ashray. Take the shelter of the spiritual master. Obey the orders of the soul. And neglect the orders of the mind and obey the orders of the soul. Among the various material combinations and permutations, there are various forms of earthly transformation. The body of the king is simply another transformation. We are just a lump of dust, and dust to dust. We are warm to tomb. We are just dust particles. Either will be burnt or will be buried, will become dust. So don't think falsely about this kingly position. We are dust and we shall be dust. In the 12th verse, it says, one has the opportunity to smear his entire body with the dust of the Lord's feet of the great devotees. Absolute is only revealed to one who has attained the mercy of the great devotees. So here's a photograph of Rupa Goswami with the Dante Trinadhari. Very humbly, he is taking the shelter of the Supreme Lord. So we should also do the same. In the 16th, simply by assuming with exalted body, the sword of knowledge can cut to pieces the illusory association with this material world. Asanga Shastrena Dridena Chitva. So this birth in the 21st verse, it says this birth as a human being is the best of all, is the best of there's a word over there. I just speak that Sanskrit verse. It's a 1321 verse. Yeah, it says, Aho Nri Janma Akhila Janma Shobhanam. Aho Nri. Nri means the human form of life. Nri Janma Akhila. Janma Shobhanam is the best of all. Hmm? There's an example has been given that a man enters a kingly palace on the first day of the year, like 1st of January on every year. So there was a rule over in that kingdom that whosoever enters over there, that man will be throned as the king of the kingdom. So similarly, that happened to the man. Man was very happy; he's been throned as a king of the kingdom. But there was another rule that that king will be only for 1 year, for 1st of January 2026 to 31st of December 2026. And on the next, as the new year approaches, the very first day, he'll be thrown into the jungle at the backyard, which is full of all forest animals, and they will eat that king. So that was the rule of the king. That man was very happy when he was thrown as the king, but when he got to know that he'll be thrown in that jungle and he'll be eaten by voracious animals, then ferocious animals, then he became upset, and then he what he did. the what was happening till now, the all the people who were becoming king, they said, they thought, we are here for 1 year, so let us enjoy for 1 year. We have to die after 1 year. There's no nothing we can do. But this man was very intelligent. What he did, he said, I do not need any service from anyone. I don't want to enjoy in this kingdom. What you do, you put all the kingdom, all the people of the kingdom in just clearing that jungle at the backyard. So the for whole year, 1 year, the whole kingdom was engaged in the clearing that jungle. And when that 31st of December 2026 has come, then that man was given a clear way back to home. So we should also think that this human being is not for sense gratification, as that man became a king for the for of the kingdom, but it is for the six anarthas that are there in our, and to purify our mind. As he engaged everyone in the clearing that jungle, we should engage all our senses in clearing all these impurities in our mind. So another important verse in 11th canto, Nideham adyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam guru karnadharam mayanukulena nabhasvateritam puman bhavabdhim na taresa atmaha. Nideha, Manushya Janma, is sulabham, is very easy to get. Like everybody has to get after 84 lakhs of species. That's why it's called sulabham. But it is very sudurlabham. After 84 lakh species, you get it. So, how much time it goes, God knows. Plavam Sukalpam Guru Karnadharam. So, this has been like a plavam is like a boat which has been very beautifully constructed. Sukalpam. And the captain of this boat is Guru Karnadharam. Mayanukulena Nabhasvateritam. And still, after getting such a boat and after getting such a captain of a like a bona fide spiritual master, still if you are not able to cross over this material world, then Puman Bhavabdi Natares Atmaha. Still, that if you're not able to control cross over this material world, then you are Atmaha. You're committing a spiritual suicide. So if even after getting a human form life, you are not doing Krishna consciousness properly, you are not doing Shastra Sadhana Seva, and the fourth is discussed na? So if we are not doing all these four things, then it is just a waste of time. We are just wasting time. So in conclusion, personal application, definitely I will implicate and in my sadhana, that yes, this human form is very precious, and every mantra I will be chanting, I will be thinking that this is my last mantra. In that consciousness, if I chant and I read Shastra like very deeply, so that I can get knowledge, and by that perfect knowledge, I can sharpen my intelligence to control the mind and the senses. Lessons: Krishna consciousness is an emergency. Like I always say that like there are 4,32,000 years in Kali Yuga, 5,000 has already been elapsed. And this Krishna conscious movement is going to stay, as Prabhupada said, only for 10,000 years. After that, there will be no Krishna consciousness. I've heard in one of his lectures, like this Chaitanya movement will be all only for 10,000 years. So if I lose this human form of life now, which is just or more 20, 30 years, if I live for 70 years, if I leave this, do not become serious in this human form, what will happen? Then I'll again enter into the 84 lakhs of species. And that 10,000 years will easily get elapsed in that. Then I may not be, if I get a human form even after 10,000 years, I may not be getting Krishna consciousness after that. The association of devotees, these shastras, these beautiful books written by Prabhupada, this association devotees, these deities, this dham, I will not be getting. So it is an emergency. It's not an option. It's the last chance in this last human form of life. I should be very serious to go back to spiritual world. Examples: Prabhupada trying to find a person trying to find door in the dark. Like a person is in a dark room, he is not able to see anything. What he's doing, he's just touching all the walls of the room and trying to find the door. And when the door comes, he just starts scratching his back, or he gets a sneezing. So he just gets get busy in other things and stop finding the touching the walls of the door, and he misses the door, but his feet are walking. So if he misses the door again, has he has to touch all the walls of the big room in the dark to find the door. Similarly, the human form of life is like that. If we get busy in sense gratification as a human life, we'll miss the door back to Godhead. Touchstone example, like a person was there who was trying to find a touchstone, and the other person, the sadhu, told him, if you there were multiple touchstones were there which were look alike. He said, how will I recognize which is the original one? Rest all are duplicate. So then sadhu said, whichever stone you touch, it'll be a little warmer, it'll be hotter. So when you touch it, you'll get to know. But there were so lakhs of stones were there. What he was doing initially, though, he was doing very slowly, touching all the stones and throwing it in the water, touching all the stones. And once he got that motion, holding and throwing, holding and throwing, holding and throwing, and suddenly he realized that he touched the hotter stone and he's thrown into the water. Then he's just lamenting, oh, I have, what have I done? Similar, this human form of life is like those 84 lakhs of species, like a touchstone. But if we are throwing again into the material pool by sense gratification, then we'll be lamenting. Human body is like a junction, like there are train, there are junctions in the railway stations. That from the junction, the train can go to any direction. There are multiple destinations he can go. So similarly, the human form is like a junction. We can go to the lower species, we can go to the higher species, we can become a demigod, we can go to the spiritual world. So we should not waste this human form. Tortoise analogy I have already given in the log of wood in the vast ocean, the burning name analogy I've already given. Shastri connection, the verses I've quoted from 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj, Mukund Mala Stotra, Bhagavad Gita. So, this is what I have to say about this topic. Forgive me if I am wrong, or I've given some, I've not elusively explained the things. I could not explain the topic. Please forgive me for that. And please guide me in future if I can improve. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Vanchakalpurubhesya Kripasindhubhesya Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Nitai Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol.